I want to talk about one of my hyperfixations that has been like going nuts recently because I found out there's going to be a Backrooms movie releasing this year, like by A24. Like, come on, man. So I just want to talk about, why do liminal spaces feel familiar, unsettling, and deeply personal? I'm sure you've been on the internet for the past 6 years and you've seen a liminal space. These are empty areas that are dark and unsettling. The idea, for a while, has been that people like liminal spaces because they're nostalgic. I want to push back on that idea, though, because I believe it goes much deeper than that. Yes, some people feel nostalgic when they see these images, but nostalgia alone doesn't explain why these spaces feel like heavy instead of comforting for a lot of us. I think the liminal spaces resonate with the media because of their symbolism. They reflect on our daily lives and the society that has been built in our lifetime. Life has changed so much, and history has been made time and time again in our lifespans. Like, can it please stop doing that? I'm tired of living through historical events every other month. The world has not changed for the better, and these spaces remind us of that. Liminal spaces resonate with us because they reflect our burnout, our stagnation, and being stuck between versions of life. I want to start off by defining a liminal space. It's a threshold or an in-between state. It's neither here nor there. Some physical examples of liminal spaces are like hallways, parking lots, waiting rooms, those sort of things that you see pictures of all over Reddit and TikTok. You are passing through these spaces to get you to your true destination. This brings me to emotional liminality. This is waiting for something to change, knowing you can't stay where you are, and having no idea what comes next. Liminal spaces are not destinations, they're transitions. That's the easiest way to put these spaces into a clear definition. This brings me to my first point. We exist in a liminal space right now, metaphorically. This is why it feels so personal. Modern life has become a constant in-between. So many milestones that our parents experienced at either our age or younger have been delayed or potentially impossible for us. These milestones are things like a career, stability, home ownership, and stuff like fulfillment. Like, it is insane. My parents all the time are going on about how they got their house for pretty much a sack of corn and $3. They left us in our own liminal space, wanting more and waiting. This makes us feel like our life is constantly on pause. These liminal spaces are a visual representation of feeling like you're doing every single thing right, but then it doesn't feel like you're making progress. This all points directly to the fact that liminal spaces are burnout. Next, I want to bring up the concept of liminality in life. We are told from the moment we are born that we have to become something more than we are. The horror of liminal spaces is the thought that, what if that never comes? What if we never are more? For many of us, we are trapped in endless waiting and endless preparation for something that does not come. This is the idea that our entire life is the transition. Our birth is the start, and then our death is the end. So what do we do for our entire life? Is it just a long montage until death? This is so unsettling because we find meaning in progression, but progression is slow and leaves us trapped in these liminal spaces for pretty much our entire life. Liminal spaces reflect that our lives are defined by maintenance, not growth. And then when you think about it, these liminal spaces are places that are designed for movement. We walk through hallways to get to our destination, like that crappy hotel room at the end of the hall. However, these liminal spaces are photographed as is. No movement, no end. I believe this is a huge symbol for our burnout as an entire generation. We are constantly moving through these spaces, endlessly, with no break and no reward, just like that episode of Chainsaw Man. Spaces that always give me this feeling are schools without students and malls without shoppers. Burned out people still show up but feel empty. These places show us but remain empty. These spaces aren't abandoned, they're exhausted. Next, I want to discuss how liminal spaces are like meant to appear safe. They are often depicted as like playgrounds, hospitals, water parks, those sort of things. These are safe places made for kids. When they are completely empty, that safety feels wrong and shifts to like an uncanny feeling, like those wax figures that people always are posing with. Those are creepy. These spaces are scary because we are so used to them being moved through and filled with people. Take away that sense of safety and you are left with fear. These places were designed to show care, safety, and order, but now they can no longer deliver that. These represent feelings unsupported by systems that were meant to protect us. I think many times we think of horror as like scary monsters and jump scares, but these spaces, however, are completely empty and free of monsters. I will note that I am not talking about the backrooms here, just the liminal spaces. I think we fear them so heavily because we are scared of being forgotten. We fear being left behind in that transition while everyone we know makes it to their destination. Have you ever like gone on Instagram and you like look up that girl who used to bully you in high school because like your hair was messy, and she's like going to Spain for vacation and has like a husband and is rich, and you're over here cutting coupons to buy ramen? Like, it's insane. We fear that never reaching our goals, that's our biggest fear. And these images give us a visualization of what that could look like. Liminal horror does not chase you down like Ghostface. It waits for you. Another concept that I feel is explored in these photos is a dead past and a dying society. Empty malls, that's a collapse of consumer promise, closed schools, the shrinking communities, abandoned offices as a post-pandemic reality. These images represent and photograph systems that no longer function. We can never revisit the past. All we can do is watch it collect dust and become our starting point. These photos make us grieve the past. We have grief for stability, predictability, and a promised future. These images remind us that nothing is guaranteed and the world will move on no matter what. Images of empty water parks always give me this really funny feeling. The feeling of knowing that I can like stand on top of the world. The lack of water and dusty slides show me that it was nothing more than a wish and an unfulfilled promise. Liminal spaces aren't nostalgic, they're evidence. They're evidence of a world we once loved being forgotten and altered. Now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about why I think liminal spaces became popular in the first place and how they remain popular for so long to the point where there's a movie being made about them. They are a result of economic instability, post-pandemic life, and burnout culture, the big three things that keep me up at night. These images are not people romanticizing the past. It is people visualizing and processing loss. Loss of a future, loss of a society where reaching the end goal was possible. These images validate that they are not the only ones who feel like their promised future was stripped from them, leaving us in this dark, dank, stank water park. This society moved on from us and left us in a transitional world that we may never exit. Like, I hate to sound bleak, but many opportunities our parents had are no longer available for us. I cannot go into a job, hand them my resume, demand an interview, and know that day that I got the job. And our parents still give us that advice. When art fixates on in-between states, society is unsure where it's even going. To conclude, liminal spaces are not here to tell us our childhood was great. They're here to represent our burnout and our constant work for nothing. They force us to face our reality that we are in a liminal space. I don't like to look at life as a transition to death, but without goals being possible to reach, it's really hard to look at it any other way. Endless transitions and no payoffs has become our status quo. The world is changing, and it has been clear that it will change with or without us. This is what these liminal spaces represent. We're not afraid of empty spaces. We're afraid of being stuck in them. A liminal space is meant to be temporary. What scares us is the idea that it isn't.